I have already shared.
Yeah,
Is
do
it
we need to
visible?
start the recording? Excuse me.
Yes, I can see. Yeah, I already started recording.
Okay.
Okay, so in the series of Canvas app, as you can see here, today we are gonna talk about the, you know, the SharePoint, all type of data types to patch them from the canvas to the SharePoint. So I just tried to, give some sort of, knowledge. So here, here we go. Okay. So it's a little bit about me. That's, I'm working as a techno-functional in the Power Platform enthusiast. So here you can find me on the LinkedIn, and that's my, the contact detail as well. So let's moving forward. What we will see in the upcoming implementation session, the series, just after a couple of minutes, we will see this type of some, screens to showcase our what we have discussed throughout the session. So the today agenda is all about the introduction of, the SharePoint list all data types, that how we can patch them from the Canvas app to the SharePoint side. So we will list down all the data types, okay, of SharePoint, and then we will explain one by one each data type. Of course, it's gonna take some time that we will try to cover this whole session within the 30 or maximum the 45 minutes. Okay, so and after that, we will implement that. Okay, we will do some sort of the, the practical implementation, the hands-on on each of the data types. And then at the end of the session, we will ask you guys for listening me, for the inconvenience that you have beared me for a whole time. Okay, we will ask the question, and then I will show you how we can get all the recorded session along with this one. So let's move forward. So the introduction. As we have already talked about, the patch function, it's the major, the major functionality of the patch function is to patch the data, create or modify within the data source. Okay, because you don't need to send the whole data again and again in the request. That's why it's efficient, because you can only patch where what is the specific requirement. Okay, so it allows us to, to update the specific data for the record, and we can, we can submit the entire data sets if we want. Otherwise, we can target the limited, the fields. So the purpose of is to, the purpose of patch function is for the more control over the data. Okay, and even we can selectively, can update the specific, the specific fields. So moreover, especially why we are using this patch function nowadays, the patch function is being used with, in the collaboration of SharePoint List and SQL database and the other external system as well. So the usage of this patch functions, it's required some sort of data source. Of course, we want to manipulate and we want to dump some sort of the data. So that's why we need some sort of the source where we want, and the record itself, and the operation, what type of operation we want to perform. So we can trigger this whole stuff, on some sort of the form submission, clicking on some sort of the button, this and that. It's up to, it depends on the requirement. Okay. So what type of problem, it solves? The patch function usually it solves, we don't need to patch the whole data. Okay, we just it's target the specific, the necessary fields. Okay, and of course, if you are not patching, if you are not submitting the whole data, you are not modifying, you are not sending the whole modification request to the other server, of course you are going to save time, and that's going to improve the performance itself. So we can perform the complex data manipulation and the calculation through the patch function. Moving forward, so here is the list of all the SharePoint data types. Okay, so starting from here, I will show you one by one, the practically from the SharePoint itself, the list. Okay, and till now, I'm assuming that you guys, all of you knows, okay, from the one-to-one, side by side, what is the Canvas app and what is the SharePoint list as well. Of course, you need to know about that. That's what I am assuming from you guys. So in the SharePoint list, we have plenty types of data types, okay, plenty types of field, and among them it's around 13, and after them, there are some sort of the calculator fields. We can consider them as well. So let's start from the single line of text. It's usually a single line of text is a simple that we usually in where usually we use this to store some sort of the short text values. It can be the name, it can be anything, even the address as well. But within the passage of time, we have changed the SharePoint list containing a different sort of the data type, which to store the address, we are using the location. So for now, just consider the single line of text is basically to store some sort of short text values. And then moving forward, there is a choice, data types. So we use this one to, if we want to choose among the options. Okay. In other
Yeah,
wo-
excuse me, Zishan, are you moving your slides? Looks like you're not moving. Have you moved your slides?
No, because this slide is containing 5 different data types. So that's why I just want them to know what is the purpose of each data type, and then we will move forward.
Okay.
So
Okay.
so here
Thank
we
you.
were discussing about the choice. That is the the drop down we can option set. Okay, and if anyone of you are familiar with the dynamic CRM itself, then we will consider this one as an option set. But in the SharePoint list, we call it as a choice. And then moving forward, we have a data type as well. We can store the date and time, and then we can even save the date itself, without the time. And then we can also save the lengthy, the notes, the description. I'm right. Nowadays, we like if someone asks you the reason, so we usually define the reason when we are going to create some sort of the case, tickets, incident, So that's why we can use the multi-line text there. So let's moving forward. You can see here, we can, in the dynamic CRM itself, we consider the people, the objective, the user as a user entity, the system user entity. But in the SharePoint list, okay, we will be calling it as a person. Okay, so it's just reference a person, and even it can be a group of person. Then it will be called as a groups. Okay, for example, this record belong to the owner of this record is Zishan. So Zishan, of course, he is a guy who is a person. So we will save it. And if there are plenty of the teammates that working in the project, that of course we will save them in the teams or in a group. Of course, we need to mention them one by one, the name of them, because in the CRM we can create a team of different people, but in here in SharePoint list we can consider them as a group. Of course, we also deal with the numbers to store our age, to store the age, the number, the value, the rating itself. Okay, and then we also have another data type that is called the Boolean. We call usually in our language is the Boolean, which is called yes or no. Okay, these are both true and false. And then we can also save the links, the URLs to the external system, such as if you want to store, for example, there is a record, okay, like there is a record, a customer record, and he has a profile, okay. Like for example, a recruiting agency can have their own database to recruit some sort of the employees, and they might have the different type of the records, and we can attach the LinkedIn URL with that record. So that's why we can use the hyperlink there. So moving forward, we have the currency itself to store the different type of currencies, because we can store the yen, we can store the dollar, pound with the this one you can consider as with the number, okay, but this one has exchange the functionality as well, and the symbol of the number itself. That's why we are calling it as a separate data type, which is called the currency. And we can store the location as well. For example, in the SharePoint list, whenever I will type the Seattle, okay, or the California or Riyadh, it will automatically fetch the country, okay, the city, the state, and all the other information. It will auto create the other dependent, the dependent field as well. So that's why we can use the location field. It's basically a composite, a collection of the different fields. So we can
Excuse
also.
me, Zishan. Maybe
Mhm.
if you can share a SharePoint list and
Okay,
talk about this, because this way it will make more sense to the viewers,
okay,
like what we are
that's
talking
great.
about.
Yeah,
Thank
sure,
you.
got it. Okay,
Mhm.
so um, for example, you logged into your SharePoint. In the site, in the top level site, there will be a site. The top level will be the site collection, and in there will be a site. And then you inside that you can create the list, the document library, and the web pages and app pages and the other stuff as well. So for this session, I have created a list that's called the SharePoint list. List is basically is not a file. Just consider it's an Excel. For example, there is an Excel file, and the columns, the data inside the Excel file is basically a list. Did you get my point? The list is not an actually a file, but it is a content of that file. So here, for example, that we are discussing the different types of the data fields, the columns. So how you can create the column from here, and you can see a different type of data types. The fields, the column. On the top, for example, as I have already discussed, we are having the text field as on top, as I have earlier described here. As you can see here, the single line, the choice, date time, date, and multi-line. Let's go one by one. So you can create the text, okay? You can create the choice, and then you can create the date and time. How it will look like. So that I have already created. This one is basic. Remember, there will be always some sort of hidden column that will be automatically generated, and it will be invisible from the user itself. So how you can show them? You can show them by clicking on any of the column, and then you can click here to show and hide the column. It will ask you to which type of column do you want to see. Okay, these are the all system generated. So let's talk about this one. Okay, the text file. It's simple. If you click here, you will go to the edit. You will see here, you can give the name. Okay, the field of the name. For example, I'm giving the name as a name, name of the name field. Okay, you can type here whatever you want, and then you have to choose here what type of column that you want to
Zishan,
create.
sorry,
Yeah.
if you are displaying any browser screen,
Oh,
only your
oh my
display
God.
is.
Oh my God. Yes, yes. I'm sorry. And thanks for, mentioning, because, I was just sharing a specific, screen. So let me reshare it. Sorry for that. Uh, Guys, can you hear me? Is that clear? And if something is not clear, that you can, ask me. And is it visible now? Can you see the screen?
Yes, now we can see the screen.
Okay, thanks a lot. I have to rewind it again. So, for example, after logging into the SharePoint, on the top of the level, there will be a site collection that contains a sub-sites. Okay, and in sub-site and in the site, you can create the document library to store the documents. You can also create, okay, you can also create the list as well. Okay, right now I'm previewing, I'm seeing I'm inside the list itself. So you can even create a different type of list. See here. And then you can create a pages. I will show you in another session, but for now we are just targeting the list itself. Okay, once the list is created, okay, once you're inside the list, you can go to the here, you can create the column from here, either from here, any of the here. Click on the column settings and then click on the add columns. For example, I'm going to create any of the column. See here, it will ask you what type of column do you want to create. So you have plenty of the different option. It depends on the requirement, what type of data you want to save. So you need to choose the specific, the field as well. So for now, as we have already discussed about these 5 different type of data, the columns, we will look them one by one. So here is the text, choice, date, time, multi-line option set, and person. For example, we're going to choose the text one. Okay, let's click on the next. It will ask you, hey man, give the name, the proper name, whatever the name. Okay, I want to save some sort of the schooling. Okay, it's some sort of the description. Okay, for example, so you can describe why you are saving this type of column, why you are having, just for the knowledge purpose. It's internal. You can only see it will not be visible here. So here you need to choose what type of column do you want to create. Even you can select from here. Okay, so for this one, I'm just creating the single line of text, and then you can even set the default value. Whenever a record will be created, I want to say the test should automatically appear if the user do not interfere, intervene with this record. So it will set the value of this column. In other words, the column, the field, attribute, whatever we called. Okay. So here you can select the use calculated values. If you click on the use calculated values, it will ask you to guide the SharePoint list how to calculate, how to set the values. Okay, how to calculate the values of this field on the base of the formula. Okay, so here, click here. See, when I click, it will say, hey man, please enter the formula. Okay, you can mention the length of this text file. And similar, this is the same case with the different fields as well. For example, the number and the other multi-line. Okay, not for all, but in each of the different column, you will see, do you want to make it this field a required field? For example, if someone trying to save the record without, setting the value of this field, the system, it will throws the automatically built-in error, the notification, hey man, this field is a required one. You need to fill this one before submitting the record. Got it? Guys, are you following me?
Yes, we are good. Yeah,
Okay.
it's good.
Okay.
Okay.
So for example, there is another field and you said, hey man, I want to save the data. And in that data, there will be some sort of field. For example, the roll number. Okay. In your schools and in your CNIC ID, some sort of, CNIC. Of course, in our whole database, there should not be a duplicate record. So how you can restrict any other person while entering the duplicate data, the same data. For example, my CNIC is 3505, for example. Okay, and now another guy trying to save the record, trying to enter the detail in this field with the same. If this one is not enabled, then the system will allow the duplicate record, and you have to do some sort of the duplicate removal. That's gonna be a hectic problem for you. In this era, you can use the AI, you can leverage the AI capability, but remember, AI also require the clean data. You can't ask him, hey man, clean it for myself. You have to guide him. Okay, guide the system. Okay, so for example, so I will say add all to all these contact types. If I click here, it will add all the content of its data. So I'm not going to enforce it. I'm just gonna say this one is the required one. Okay, so see here, I have enabled this one here, so I can define the formula here. Okay, the one that I mentioned. I said, man, if, okay, if, like in the whatever you do in your in simple college or university life, what do you usually do? You choose the conditions. The condition is here. For example, I say, man, there is a field. Okay, it's a name. If the name field is equal to this one, I want to say this guy is a VIP. Okay, and if someone else is, then is the some sort of silver, silver ticket something. You can mention like this one. So once you save, okay, it will apply the rule as well. So all the thing that I have told you about the naming of the field, the type, how you can choose, okay, and how you can enable the conditions and how you can make it as a function, you can convert it into the formula to calculate it. In the same manner, I created all the different type of, the columns. And if you want to check what type of this column is, you can click on the column setting and then go to the edit. It will show you, hey man, this field is a single line of text. Okay, and remember here, you can switch, you can change. See here, the data is this one. Okay, if a column has a data, okay, inside it, okay, then even after having the data, you can change its type. But remember, the data will be lost in case of if there is no built-in conversion of the data. For example, there is a text field. Oh my God, that's gonna be okay. No problem. That's a okay. If there is a text field, for example, there is a text field in it's like the value, for example, okay. And if the value is, for example, is 12, of course we can save the in 12 in a text field. The system will allow. But later on, after storing 1,000 of record, and an architect asks you, they hire a new architect, someone guide you, hey man, could you please change the type of this text field? You will say, no problem. Remember that. If the required ask is to convert the text field into number, then you can do this. But there is a condition. The condition is text field should only contains the number, E1, E1, E1 in the text form. Got it? Okay. But if it is not, then your whole data will be lost. Remember that. Did you guys get my point? Okay, let me show you. Let's go through one by one, okay? And then I will show you how to do this one. This column, you can check the type of this column is basically a choice, as I have already told you. You can define as many as you want, and even you can enable this choice. For example, if someone is going to choose the record, for example, you need to click here, edit grid, okay? And then you can choose as many, these two fields, the department and the floor itself. These two columns is basically a one type. It's called choice. But the difference is between, there is a minor difference. For example, I can show you. If I show you the setting of this department, you will see here, edit. This one is a choice. But here, I mentioned do not allow it to select multiple values, the multiple values, okay? The multiple values here, allow multiple values, okay? Did you get my point? And even if you enable this one, this check, then a user can enter as per his need, and then that item will be added inside these choices. For example, see here, this department is a choice field, okay? But focus on this one, the allow multiple selection, it's not true. So here it's not enabled, but in the floor, you can see here there are two selections, okay? How? Because I enabled it. It's a type of choice, okay? Of course, it has the same, the structure, it's a choice page, but what is the difference? The difference is here, you can see here, allow multiple selection. Did you get the point? And this is the same thing. You can make it required. You can enforce if, you can enforce if it is, there should be a unique value. No else can, and even you can convert them like this one. You can convert them into the radio buttons, okay? And then this is the same thing, default values, and you can calculate them. And if I enable this one, remember, if I enable this one, for example, if I enable this one, you can enter. So when I save this one, it applies the changes on this, on the fly. How slick is this? So click here. I'm gonna enter the record here. You can enter whatever you want. For example, there were only 3 levels: level 1, level 2, and level 3. Okay, so now I'm gonna add a different one, which is not already there, but it will allow me. Okay, see here. Exit the grid view. So if I show you here, settings here, so you can see here, this one was already there. but it will be automatically added here. So it allows the system because I have already asked. If I don't, then it will not allow me to choose or type anything else, and it won't show it here. For example, if you can have a change here, exit grid view. So here, for example, I want to see, it's not allowing me. Anyone ask for, I mean, 5. See, I tried to save the test file, but it doesn't allow me, it isn't allowed because I have disabled that one. So moving forward, we have talked about the text field. We have talked about the, the choice. We call it drop down, whatever you want to call. It can be a single selection, it can be a multiple selection. And moving forward, we can also save date and time. So how you can do this? Of course, the same way. Click anywhere and just choose, add columns, and even from you can choose here. If I have already done this one, so you can click here, okay, and then you can see here it's a date time. So the date time, there is only one date time field, the data types, but you can make it as only single date or date time both, okay, and even you can ask them to show as a friendly format. If I will disable this one, then you will see this value in the numbers like this one. And it's showing you in the descriptive form for the user friendly. See here, the data is here. If I click here, it will change the data. It's applying some sort of setting, and you can see here the data got changed. Okay, the moving forward, the same way, this is the same data type that is called the date time, but this time I'm not including the time itself. Okay, so in the same manner, okay, we can have a text file, but this time, remember, this time we can have a bigger text file, a multi-line, okay? So you can save, remember this one, the notes itself is a markdown. It allows you to add the HTML things, in the markdown as well. You can enter, see, for example, see here, this one, it's allowing you to save this type of style, the list style. See, it means this is not a simple text. It has a more feature than the text itself. Okay, and remember that, you guys, if you want to, you can even remember. So we were here. Okay, we were here in the notes, and remember that in the notes, in the column itself, you can add any icon here. Okay, whatever the shape is, you can enter here. For example, any of the shape, you can copy from anywhere, and then you can paste it here. It will allow you. Okay. And moving forward, let's go to the person itself that we have already talked about here, like here, the person. For in this field, we can save, we can refer to the user, like how to create this one. Same manner. Okay, let's go to here, click on the edit. You will see this is the person or group type. But see, there are only one type of field which is called person or group. Now I am dealing with a different one. I enable as a group or not. For example, go to here. If you enable this one as allow selection for group, then I'm calling it as a group. And if it is not enabled, then I'm calling it as a user. How you can see here? See, this manager here, I did not enable the group selection. Okay, so you can see here, I can only choose one. It won't allow me to choose the second one. But in the right next column, you can see I can mention a multiple team members, and there you will see this option is enabled. For the year, see, look here, allow section for group. That's why it's allowing me. Okay, now moving forward, you can create another field which is called the number itself. So I just I'm giving just styling, but this is a simple number field. How you can do this in the same manner, just go there and then click at the number and give whatever you want to give the name. You can even give the styling itself. See, if you want to give a different style, see, I gave the different style. How? Click on the custom and enter whatever here. And what I was talking earlier is that you can mention the number with the symbol itself and some sort of icon. Okay, and even you can. So in the same manner, guys, we can create a different type of, a columns. Let's moving forward. This is a number file, and this is the Boolean type, and this one is to store the link. Okay, I will share the list with you. This is a public group. I will edit your user, and you can access this one. This is a trial. Okay, so you can, experience this one. So this one is as a revenue is for the currency one. Okay, this column is for the currency, as we have already talked about. And now next is this location. See what I did. I simply created this one. Here is some sort of, the tricky thing. I just created this field, and what it did.
Zishan,
I created this field.
there's
Yeah.
a one question.
Yeah.
I think Osama Ross is asking what exactly you mean by HTML. Is it like we can use the HTML as it is, or does it has its own set of rules or ways to your HTML identical functionalities? So I think he's asking for the notes
Yeah.
column.
Yeah. I think for now, just consider it. You can enter the data as per your need. I will show you how to do this one. It allows you to save the different type of, the layouts. You can save here, for example, look here. But it only provides you some sort of the limited functionality here. Look. And that shows the HTML itself, okay? Because it can render, see, in the backend, it is rendering, it is using the HTML tags, okay? You just enter the URL here, but what is doing on the behind, it is, rendering those images using the tags itself of the image of the HTML. Did you get my point?
Yeah, but let me just clarify here. Yeah, but you cannot drop in HTML directly here. So it will create HTML for you on the backend, but it is providing a UI where you can just create an nice looking notes or something like that.
Okay. So moving forward, we were here.
So I think it's a text
This is
editor kind of thing more.
Yes, this
It's
is
instead of
actually written with it.
HTML.
W32. I'm gonna show you a runtime to just get the page. Let's do this. Tag list. Just for example, there is a code. For example, this one. Let's say this one is the button. Okay, let's copy here, and where I was in the node itself. Okay, and so on. I just deleted this one, and I just save this one. Let's see how it works. And exit trade. So it did not render, it did not reflected the whole HTML. It's just providing a limited the functionality. See, and what it did, you can see here, it also, corrupt the other layout for the other members. It's unsupported to save.
Yep. Well, actually, it's just a text editor, for multi-line type. It's not an
Yeah,
HTML container or something.
we call it as a markdown, the markdown editor, because the HTML editor is something different where you can paste your HTML code.
Yeah, it's just a text editor.
Okay, you can call it, but the text editors do not render the images. Okay, let's refresh it because where it's taking too much time. Okay, here we go, and here it is. Header in grid view. Let me remove it. Okay, so moving forward, we can see here that we have already talked about the person, the group itself. These both are the same data type, and here it's a number field. And now that this one is the text file. This one is the Boolean field. I just mentioned this guy is a text filer or not. I'm just using a yes or no. You can see here the setting here. Go to the setting. You can see it's a Boolean field. In the same manner, as I have already talk about the URL itself, see here, we can save the hyperlink as well in the system itself. Okay, and this hyperlink is basically to store different type of references. You can mention here your, see here, this profile is my LinkedIn profile. It will navigate me to the LinkedIn profile. Okay, I don't want to go there now. So how it's working, just go in the same manner, go to the edit. You can see here the type of this one, and then you can perform if this is the required or not, a simple one. But remember, it will only make it editable if the URL is valid. And how it's valid? If you have the domain, if you consider the protocol, the SSL, each and everything, for example, okay? The protocol itself, the security, HTTPS, this and that, okay? Otherwise, it won't show you as a link. Okay, let's moving forward. This one is the currency field, as we already talked about this one. Let's go to here. You can mention, see, the currency, how many decimal do you want to save here? See, after the dots, dot 20. That means there are 2 digits, and the decimal, you can choose as many. You can even mention what type of currency it is, okay? And then you can set the value, default value, and the rest of it the same other thing that I already talked. How many, what is the minimum value do you want to allow? This is the validation, basically a built-in validation, okay? Okay. Anyone, you can separate them 1000 by 1000. Once the 1000 done, it will add the comma separation, like here. If you go down here, this one is use 1000 separator. If not, see here, this is 1000 separator. If not, then how it will react. Okay, show us. Okay, like that.
I think Usama has a question. He raised his hand. Yeah, go ahead, Usama.
If you guys don't mind, you can type in the chat, and at the end of the session, I will explain each and everything. I think that will be a good. Otherwise, if you think you can, forget that, it's a better thing. Otherwise, most welcome, you can ask.
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to ask that, are we going to see the patching in all this?
Yes.
Okay.
And remember that being a developer, you don't need to just blindfold. You need to know what type of the other system is, how they have exposed their field, and how we can enter the data. So that's why it's important.
Yeah, that's great. You introduced us this SharePoint list with all the types available.
Okay, let's move
but
forward.
I think for patching, it's we need another session now.
No problem. We will do it. Inshallah, with the next one, with the container as well. Someone just highlighted about the containers. I will discuss the container in the next session and the other stuff as well. Okay, this one is a tricky one. Hey, what we can do, we can go to the, the settings. What you can do, you just need to see here. This is the composite field. Okay, it contains a different type of values as well. Okay, so I just created this field and I just checkbox them what type of, it will automatically create the other columns as well, and that will store the data. What I did, I just simply, I just simply type the Riyadh. It automatically picks the country and all the other location itself. If you enter the home country, it will also fetches the all detail as well. Okay, it depends on the address itself, and then this one will be auto calculated. This is a built-in feature. Let's move to the forward. Then the next one is the profile, which is basically, this is not the profile. I just renamed it. So here we can save the images as well. Okay. So it's the same stuff. Okay. You can go to the edit and you can see here, this one is the image and you can store. Later on, I will show you how it's working. Okay. And this one is storing if as programmatically for being the developer, it's saving in the base 64. So it's rendering automatically here. Okay, let's move to the terms. Okay, this one is the important one. So I didn't get the time to explain this one because, I just prepared it today, the whole thing, and prepared the session. So that's why, because I was busy. So no problem. Let's talk about this one. Okay, we all know about that. What is the metadata? The metadata, if you guys have some sort of experience in the dynamic CRM itself, then you know that there are option set and there are some global option set. The option set, for example, the choice field, okay, the choice field, the option set, if you create within the list, then you won't be able to reuse that option set in another list or in the other site collection. Did you get my point, guys? For example, in through throughout the organization, if there are approval stuff, then of course what you will do, you will create a field which is called the drop down or option set, or the the choices. Okay, and that choices will contain different type of options. For example, this one is approved, this one is reject, of course. And this, if this behavior, this process, if the business falling around, moving around the same process, then of course you are going to use these two status throughout the organization. So in that manner, you don't need to create a multiple type the same field. What you can do, you can create that field one time, and then you can use reusability. Did you get my point? It works as a global option set. Guys, is that clear or not? For example, if you guys are not getting this one, for example, let's say here, let me make it show. Okay, for example, this is the big site, the top site, the site collection, and there will be some site. Okay, the site itself, and in this site there can be a multiple site. And then in this one, there can be a sub-site, and in that one, there can be a web page, this and that. For example, so here, here, if I created this, if I created the Zishan record here, for example, here, then you can't use this Zishan record inside this in another list itself. Okay, if you create that record here while using the choice column. But if you choose as a metadata, so I'm going to show you what it does it basically mean. A metadata is basically an information about something. For example, the information about this column, we can call this one. The information about this list itself, it can be a metadata. Okay. So did you get my point, guys? So if we create this type of thing, then we can reuse this column inside another list itself. For example, the functions, of course, whenever we write in the function in our coding, we make a code like this so we can reuse in other class file as a reference, this and that. Guys, anyone of you are not following, if there is some sort of problem, you guys can ask the question, because this one is important and we need to know, because this one there is only one or two left. After that, we will be discussing about the this one. Okay, the patch. Okay. Here we can okay, let's talk about, we have already discussed about this one. I can show you the type of this field is basically a managed metadata. Here you can choose a different type of, from where you want to capture this here. People, this one department, this and that, okay, example, whatever it is. And then you can reuse this one. This field is basically a lookup field. For example, if we want to refer one list inside another list, okay, then we have to use the lookup field. For example, lookup means it is referencing to somewhere else. For example, I created this field, and you can see here, this list, the name of this field is basically a customer. Okay, and then there is another list. What type of column it contain a different type of columns. We can refer this list inside this list. How? We need to create the the column with the type of lookup, and then you can mention here, okay, man, this is the lookup field, and which other list do you want to show? There are plenty of that stuff. I said I want to use this list, this list, and there are other columns as well. Which column do you want to show and how many? I said I want to show the title of this. I want to recognize this list on the base of this title. Either you can choose whatever you want. Okay, so here, edit, go to the here, more options, and even you can create the same way the other column as well, as we have already done here in the location itself. What I did, I just created one, and after choosing the checkboxes, it automatically created this one. And if I do the same here, it will also automatically create the other columns here. Okay. Now, the next one is all about the calculated field. A calculated field means we are calculating this field on the base of some sort of other field are calculations or formulas. Okay, so I just created this field just to show you that there are some fields, the column that are not, that are not supported for the patch function itself. Okay, so we have already talked about this one, this one, this one, and this one. Okay, so we have talked about it. So in the next one, we will talk about the patch itself, how to do this one. So it won't take too much time. So we are ending the session, and hopefully the patch function will be done. So let's talk about
You
this one.
have a
And remember,
question, Zishan, you have a question regarding the terms field.
the terms. Okay.
Yeah, maybe just go on to the site collection and show like how the term can be set, because term this
Yes, exactly. I can show you. Yeah,
yeah
okay.
this is not available for the site owners only, because it is only available
Yes,
for the site collection administrators. So
yes. The top one, this one for this one, not this one.
yes, that's right.
Okay, we talk about the managed data. We were talking about the metadata. Okay, I will show you how to set this record. Okay, so for now, let's talk about this calculated field. And how it is this one? Remember that this layout that you are seeing is an enhanced UI. But if you want to create and other columns, for example, I said I want to create the calculator field. Okay, there is no calculator field. How you can do this one? I need to click here and then I need to click on the next. When I will click here, it will navigate me, I will land on the classic SharePoint, and there I can choose the calculated field. Let me show you how to do this one. The first one. Okay, this one. Let's click on the next. See, it started to.
Yeah, there's a one question, like, yeah, Yasin, yes, please go ahead. What's the question?
Yeah, sure.
Uh, you told us about that list, and like if we are using a list, we are not supposed to use that list somewhere else. I didn't get that.
Sorry. What
So
about the point you are talking? Come again, please.
Is it clear now? I
yes,
asked
we can hear you. Yeah.
I asked that if you said that if we are using a list somewhere, so we are not supposed to use that list somewhere else.
No. See, okay. See, look here. If I can show you here, let me go back to the same list. These two are different lists. So I am using this list inside this list. So we can use this list somewhere else as well. So
Yeah, we can create the reference with one list, like with two lists, you can just integrate both lists together. So one
yeah.
list can talk to the other list. So for that kind of scenarios, you can just use the lookup column. Is that okay? Yeah, he's good now.
Okay.
Okay.
That's clear? Okay, got it. So we were here in the, the classic phase, and here you can see there are plenty of columns that we have already talked about. There are other task outcomes. Okay, we can't do this. Remember that the external data, the task outcome, and the calculated field itself, we can't patch them through the Canvas app for now, because that's why I have already mentioned here. We are conducting this one as per the disclaimer till this day. After that, if something goes change, then we are not, because you need to get up to date with the the official website of the SharePoint and the Microsoft itself. But for now, it's not supported. So let's move to the same point here that we were discussing. Okay, I just clicked here. Okay, it will ask me, hey man, do you want to use available columns in your formula while calculating? I said, okay, you can use. When I click, it will automatically tag here. And what will be the type of the column? It can be this one. Okay, so that's it. Once saved, it will automatically create the column here. Why I created, I can show you the formula of this column I created. For example, if something is overwhelming for us, we don't want to proceed with this one. For example, if there is a project and we are doing a lot of marketing and the expense are too many, then we can make a call for the go and no go. Even in the production side, if you want to deploy something, the code in the production are not yes and this and that. Okay, so let me show you the formula of this column setting. From this column, go to the format of view. There is a formula. Okay, let me show you. It will be visible in the other stage. Let me create settings. If we go to the thumbnail. Okay, it will be here. For now, let's leave this one because it should be here. And grab of this filter panes. I should add a column from this column. Let's be here the formula advanced mode. Yeah, the schema here we are using. Okay, now we have talked about this, all columns, that what type of columns are available in the SharePoint itself. And why I discuss all the columns, because we need to know what type of behavior of those columns inside the SharePoint itself. Otherwise, we can build a patch function and we can push what type of data, any type of data, but you will face error again and again unless you know about what is on the other side. Okay, so we have explored the other side, and now we are going to explore the Canvas app. Okay, remember there are two ways. You can even automate. You can export this file in the Excel and you can show them in the Power BI, this and that. And even you can apply some sort of business thing, the workflows on this one by using the Power Automate itself. Okay, the rule itself, and even you can automatically create. Okay, you can automatically create the the Canvas app. How you can do this one? This is it will automatically create via using this schema. It contains the schema, the columns, the metadata, and it will automatically create the Canvas app and the Power BI and the other stuff as well. Okay, so if you click here in the Power Apps, okay, create an app, it will automatically create the app like this. See here. So it automatically created the app like this one. Okay, see here, the data is coming. Okay, so this is not the good layout. It's creating by by his own. It created 3 different screens. I did not name the the other stuff inside this thing. The text, it's not following the standards, but it's created like the browse, detail, and edit. This one is just for the browse, and once you run this one, you can see the detail of this record, and even you can delete and create itself. Okay, like this one. But for us, I created a one screen because of the time. Okay, so I hopefully the main concern was, the main objective of this session is to go through all the patch functions. So eventually we have come here just to discuss about the implementation, as we have already discussed in our agenda. Let's talk about the patch syntax itself. Okay. The patch syntax itself, as we can see, as I've already talked about, we can use the patch function. Okay. The major benefit of patch itself is if there are different many screens like this one. If there are plenty of different screens, and if there are plenty of forms in these screen, and you want to push them at once, then you can use the patch function. It can do a magic one. But if you want to submit each form, for all of them, you have to create a one button, and even then you can navigate to the other one. You need to mention the reference of each other while using the submit form built-in function of the Canvas app. Okay, and it has other lot of things as well, because it also resend the same data, but patch only. For example, in the submit form, okay, what is the difference between the submit form and the patch function? For example, this one. Okay, this record is already inside the SharePoint list. So I just change this to, okay. And if there are two buttons, one is submit form and the other one is patch. If I click here on the submit form, it will again send the same data, okay, in the system. So it means it will, if something is carrying a lot of data, a lot of weight, then of course the performance will be slow. But in the patch, if you click on the patch button, it will check, the system will automatically check what has got changed over the time. So it only takes the title, the two, and rest of them keep there. And it's only, carried this one. Of course, if there is only one field that is carrying, that means there is a less weight. And even in the same manner, if you guys are, carrying a lot of weight, you will feel tired, soon. But the patch function, that's why